The Leominster City Council meeting is funded in part by DeCarolis Insurance Agency at www.decarolisinsuranceagency.com and by Avidia Bank at www.avidiabank.com.
Councilor Angelini, are you prepared for your first hearing?
I am, Mr. President. Thank you. Excuse me for my raspy voice this evening. Good evening, everyone. My name is Peter Angelini, Chairman of Legal Affairs Committee. I'm joined this evening by Councilor Robert Tossi, Ward 1 Councilor, and Councilor Pauline Cormier of Ward 2 fame. This is a continued public hearing from September 23rd. Petition 5-25. Elizabeth Wood, on behalf of the Planning Board, requests that the City Council amend the zoning ordinance pertaining to dimensional requirements for Residence B and Residence C districts. Before I get too far into this, we did receive a letter from Elizabeth Wood dated October 8th, 2024. Attention, Ms. Dorian. On October 8th, 2024, the Planning Board voted 7-0 to continue the public hearing for CC Petition 5-25 RE zoning amendment pertaining to dimensional requirements in the RB and RC zones to 6:35 p.m. on 10/21/24. The board make the decision to continue the public hearing because the board made a request to the consultant, Joseph Boyle, MRPC, to provide more information regarding unit counts. The board also asked for some amendments to the table. A revised version and new information is anticipated to be available for the board's consideration at the 10/21/24 hearing. It is anticipated that the board will make a recommendation to City Council at the 10/21/24 public hearing. Please let me know if you have any questions or if you need additional information. Regards, Elizabeth Wood, AICP, Planning and Development Director on behalf of the Planning Board. So we won't be able to take any action on this evening, but I will call on the petitioners if they would like to come on up, make yourself comfortable. So, Mr. Boyle, I don't know if you have anything you'd like to add that, to this petition while we're waiting for the Planning Board's recommendation on the 24th, but the floor is yours, sir.
Okay, thank you. Am I on? Thank you. Good evening, Council. We are back before you tonight we're still in process here. I received some very useful feedback at the Planning Board meeting about amending the amendment. In short, this amendment is going to be scaled back. There's modifications in process, but it is still being worked on towards the end of marginally reducing the permitting burden and increasing the potential for residential development in the RB and RC district. But rather than a complete redesign of the table of dimensional requirements and whatnot, it's being scaled back to something that is just going to change some of the figures on the dimensional table. It's in the same direction, the same thought process and the same intentions and outcomes as the initial proposal, but it is being scaled back some. And we'd like to get back to you after a little more work on it.
All right, obviously, if it's materially different than the one we advertised legally, we'll probably need to ask for leave to withdraw just a suggestion and submit a new petition.
I did have some questions about that. In this case, first, a couple of points about that. The changes that, based on the feedback that I've received, changes that are anticipated are changes that would reduce the scale of the amendment and reduce the degree of changes that are being made rather than increase. So rather than there being new things that were never heard before and were not proposed that go beyond what was initially advertised, this is likely to come back with less than what was discussed last time. The other question, we did bring the language of the advertisement for the original public hearing, and it does not specify what the changes that are being proposed were. It does not talk about changing the dimensional table and to make any specific changes. It says proposing dimensional changes in the RB and RC district. We are still proposing dimensional changes in the RB and RC district. I kind of was hoping for some guidance because this is sort of on the boundary about what would and what would not require us to withdraw and start the process over.
Can I weigh in
I'll defer
on
to
that?
Council President.
So I think the danger is that even though it's, look at, if somebody said, even though it's less of a change, someone might have said, hey, look, this is a great petition the way it was originally drafted, and I don't need to go comment and advocate for that because we think it's going to get passed. They don't show up.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just which way it's going, it's what was it. And in addition to that, we typically don't put the entire specifics, but there's a reference to a petition that's existent. And I think if there's going to be a significant change from what was filed originally, it would be a much safer course, sort of a due process type of argument, where the public knows that there's something different now that's being, advanced as opposed to what was originally being advanced. It was a minor matter. We take those kind of amendments all the time, but a significant one, I think, requires really a start over.
Mm-hmm.
And I should note for the record that, as the chairman indicated, we can't proceed tonight, no matter what, because it's only day 64. You need 65 days before. Otherwise, we could, if this was day 66, we might be able to clean up that problem very quickly, but it's not. So we're really forced to further time this as a result of that in the statute.
Have you had the opportunity to see the initial draft of the new proposal?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
All right. Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
All right, you're welcome. Councilor Tosti, do you have any questions or comments?
Yes, what's the timing on this? Is there a lot of time to get a response?
I'm back before them next week, and the changes will be sent to them before them in May. I expect the planning board is likely to act that night.
Yeah,
Thank you. You're welcome.
I'm pretty sure that we'll come up with our changes and have everything done for the next meeting.
Our next meeting is the 28th, right?
Well, your meeting is the...
Right.
Is it 20th?
28th,
Oh, the 28th, yeah.
right.
So we'll have it before the 28th.
Wonderful. Councilor Pauline Cormier?
I have no questions. I just ask that we get a copy of that as soon as we can have a copy. Give us some time to look it over before we convene again
Yeah.
at the end of the month.
Absolutely. Thank you, Councilor. Any members of the council wish to weigh in? Seeing none, I'm going to go to the public. Is there anyone in attendance this evening that would like to speak in favor of or in opposition to petition 5-25? For the second time, is there anyone in attendance this evening that would like to speak in favor of or in opposition to petition 5-25? And for the third and final time, is there anyone in attendance this evening that would like to speak either in favor of or in opposition to petition 5-25? Seeing none, I'm going to keep this hearing open, obviously. And recommended date for the,
Do we have anything scheduled for the 28th? I don't think, all right. So, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to recommend October 28th at, let's go with 6:30.
October 28th at 6:30 PM. Very good. Thank you.
And I guess we need to wait to 6:40 for your next hearing. Give me time out. 10 minutes. Okay, Mr. Chairman, we have 640 and petition 7-25.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a continued public hearing of the Legal Affairs Committee. Hearing that was originally conducted on September 23rd of 2024. Petition 7-25 is Elizabeth Wood on behalf of the Planning Board, requests to amend the zoning ordinance pertaining to upper-story dwelling units. I'm going to, this is the one we never had a chance to breach at our last meeting because Mr. Boyle had another engagement. So I will hand the floor off to you again for your presentation, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This proposal is adding a use to your tables of uses, upper-story dwelling units. This is to distinguish them from the existing uses you have. You currently have the apartment/multifamily dwelling use, dwelling single-family and dwelling two-family. Adding upper-story dwelling units to your zoning ordinance helps to promote mixed-use development. It is a way to encourage the incremental addition of residential units into existing buildings which have unused space on the upper stories, as well as adding upper stories to single-story commercial buildings. But the goal here is to help promote mixed-use development by distinguishing upper-story dwelling units from apartment multifamily dwelling units. This allows the addition of the residential uses where they would be beneficial to a walkable mixed-use commercial area without them replacing the first floor, without residential development replacing your first floor commercial uses.
All right, and this activity, if we adopted this ordinance, would take place in a Business A zone, right, BA, BB,
BA and BB.
and the Village District.
And the Village District, it would be allowed by right. And, well, first of all, it's split into, my proposal, I split this into 1 to 4 units and 5 to 8 units. And so upper-story dwelling units, 1 to 4 units, would be allowed by right in BA, BB, and V. Those are your primary mixed-use neighborhood center commercial districts. And by special permit in the MU2 district, which is one of your more intensive districts, I was following the use of apartment multifamily and designated that as special permit from the planning board. I have also included upper-story dwelling units, 1 to 4 units, as a special permit allowable in the RC district. This is for situations in which there is an existing commercial use, for example, a corner store, where the addition of units above it would be, in the judgment of the planning board, consistent with the walkable mixed-use character of a district. Of a particular residential sub-district that there is some sort of commercial presence. This would allow upper-story units where there is that commercial presence. Where there isn't already a commercial presence in the RC district, allowing upper-story dwelling units would not allow you to add this use because there needs to be a commercial use on the first floor. And there's no proposal here to allow any additional commercial uses into the RC. So this is a case where there are already, so this is included in the RC for those cases where there is already a commercial presence and the addition of some residential uses to there would be beneficial. It would not result in the introduction of more commercial into the RC. I wanted to make sure I made that clear.
Okay, so MU2 and RC with special permit.
MU2 and RC are, it's allowed by special permit, 1 to 4 dwelling units. And then 5 or more dwelling units, things step up one level of oversight. So where it was special permit in the RC and MU2, it goes to not allowed in the RC. And where it was yes in the BA and BB, it goes to site plan review. Also the why it goes, 1 to 4 is allowed by right, and over 5 or more goes to site plan approval.
Village district.
In the V, yes, the village district.
In the V.
Yep. In the overlay table of uses, it's mostly the underlying zoning. I mean, basically, this is making no changes in terms of 3 of your overlay districts. Only in the downtown overlay is this, there's special, this is designated as site plan approval for 1 to 4 and special permit from the planning board for 5 or more, because that is, in the downtown, that's a place where this type of use would be very appropriate.
Thank you. Anything either of you would like to add?
There was a letter, a referral letter from myself.
I'll read that into the record, thank you. This letter is dated October 8th, 2024. Petition 725, zoning amendment pertaining to upper story dwelling units. Attention, Ms. Dorian. On 10/7/24, the planning board voted 7-0 to make a positive recommendation for CC petition 7-25, RE zoning amendment pertaining to upper story dwelling units. No changes were recommended from the draft presented. Please relay this information to the city council. Let me know if you have any questions or if you need additional information. Regards, Elizabeth Wood, AICP, Planning and Development Director, on behalf of the planning board. Thank you. Let me go to members of the Legal Affairs Committee. Councilor Tossi, do you have any questions?
Yes, so how many units will this be creating? Is this a lot, few, or potentially a lot?
I think
or-
it's not that many, but you don't know because it's left up to the individual owner of the property. So if they want to expand their property, then it becomes an option that they can do. If they don't want to expand it, they want to leave it the way it's happy is, it stays. So trying to come up with a number to look at it, say, it's going to happen here, it's going to happen there. I've talked to a number of people. I don't think it's a strong thing. It's allowable in some areas. And in some areas it's restricted because you still have to hit your building permits. So some of the initial property as it sits was never designed for upper story units, so it doesn't have the structural integrity to add them. So, and there's no way of knowing that other than doing a engineering review of every parcel in the city. So because of those kinds of restrictions, the desire to do it in the actual, structural integrity of the building, it's hard, we just don't know.
Right.
My gut feeling is that it's not, it's availability, but I don't see a big addition to it.
Okay.
So you're referencing infrastructure, issue like fire department, fire safety for these unit conversions?
Right, that would all, your building permits would require all of that. So that's just, as you get into units, those building inspection requirements
Okay.
come into effect.
Thank you. Anything else, Councilor Tossi?
No, thank you.
Let me go to Councilor Pauline Cormier.
So if we pass this,
Yep.
there's built-in safe fails. There's already built, like you said,
Right.
the building inspection, fail safes, so that if we grant this, if we pass this, then there's already built-in safety, so somebody's not gonna go and just by right be doing this in,
Oh, no, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, safety always supersedes, the only way you get around that is historic district, where you're doing something where you would have to apply for that. But any new apartments, you have to meet all the building codes.
today's
So
building
yeah,
codes.
Today's building codes.
All right, so that's not something, if they have a variety store on the first floor that's been there for 50 years, they're not gonna get grandfathered in on anything
No,
new.
they have to, whatever they build is today's building code, so there's no grandfathering
Okay,
in that.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome, Councilor. Let me open up to Councilor Shalfo Zephyr.
Thank you. Question, I guess, for John. So Somebody with an existing commercial footprint,
Mm-hmm.
can they expand that footprint and then go higher?
No,
So they have to stay within that
That's right,
existing
yeah.
footprint, and they can go higher?
then they go on. So
Okay.
it's in the existing Johnny Appleseed Plaza or, you know, there's some corner market, you know. Some of them already, there are some that exist out there today
Right.
where they have the market and they have an apartment over above. But no, that's why we get into the others, you get the special permits. Okay, that's if you're gonna expand it, then you have your setbacks and all that, they have to be critiqued, so that's all covered. So
So it
nothing,
could happen, but they still have to go through all of the
yeah,
regulations.
they have to go through everything. We don't give anybody any relief but the building structure itself.
A point that's relevant to this councillor, as this was being developed through the Housing Committee, it was being discussed a lot, and it came out of discussions about mixed use and, you know, mixed commercial and residential use. And there was thoughts about an initial version coming in that also was making some changes about commercial uses. And the decision was made at that time not to try to do that at the same time, to limit this to strictly commercial. So this proposal doesn't provide any kind of relief or additional rights or anything for any commercial uses. So commercial uses or buildings that are in commercial uses. So anything that they had wanted to do to commercial space, all of your existing zoning and permitting still applies to that. It's only if they're putting residential up above.
I think it probably should be pointed out too, Mr. Boyle, that this was in part developed as part of the strategy for our MBTA compliance, correct?
Yeah, and yes, that's correct. As the discussion was looking at your Main Street in North Leominster, which you know, and other important commercial areas, the last thing that anybody wanted was for. The hope is that the residential development from the MBTA process will help to promote your businesses. There'll be people there to go to local businesses and things. The last thing that anybody wants would be for your businesses on Main Street to be replaced by purely residential development. So the initial thought in this was a way to allow for residential development while still protecting the first floor businesses there. And it occurred to us that that principle applies to a lot more than just the MBTA district. That's as Leominster is seeking to address its housing issues, it does also want, both for neighborhood quality of life issues and also to protect its economic development, to protect its storefronts from replacement. So, and that's true in the MBTA district, it's true in the Village district, and it's true in your BA and BB districts in particular.
Councilor Ardinger.
There are a number of corner stores that haven't been in use for a number of years. How would they be affected?
How would they be affected? If they have been closed for long enough that the use is no longer current, a pre-existing non-conforming use after having been abandoned for a certain amount of time.
2 years.
2 years here?
Yeah, 2
2
years.
years. They cease to have their grandfathering. So the commercial use they wouldn't be able to say it's in the RC district. They had a pre-existing non-conforming corner store. It's been closed for 2 years. Now they no longer have the right to occupy that corner store. This is required to be above a business use. This is required to be a first floor non-residential use. They have to have that use there. If they can't have a commercial use on the first floor, then they don't meet the criteria for upper story dwelling units.
It's just an RC lot, that's all it is.
Yeah, it was RC.
Good, Councilor?
Good.
Any of the members of the council? All right, seeing none, I'm going to go out to see if we have anyone out in the audience this evening that would like to comment either in favor of or in opposition to petition 7 7-25. For the second time, is there anyone in attendance this evening that would like to speak either in favor of or in opposition to petition 7-25? And for the third and final time, is there anyone in attendance this evening that would like to speak either in favor of or in opposition to petition 7-25? Seeing none, Mr. President, I'm going to declare this public hearing closed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let's see what time we got. Why don't we start 11-25? We got 5 minutes.
This is a Public Safety Committee public hearing on petition 11-25. My name is Sue Shalafu-Zephyr. I'm the chairperson of the Public Safety Committee, along with Councilor Angelini, who is the clerk, as well as Councilor Frida, who is the third member. So 11-25, Claire Frida, Councilor at Large, request on behalf of Paul and Lisa Gove of Gove Farm, establish a 25 or 30 mile an hour speed zone on Mechanic Street from the bridge at Johnny Rowe Park to the Lancaster Town Line. Speed to be determined by the Leominster Traffic Department within the Police Department. We had a Public Safety and Traffic Committee regular course with referrals, and this evening is our public hearing. We did refer the petition to the DPW as well as the Leominster Police Department, and I have those two referrals back that I would like to read into the record now. So the acting chief, Ryan Malatos, referred this to Greg Robichaud, Officer Robichaud, who is the traffic officer. And this is what he wrote back, and it's dated September 25th. Captain Malatos, I pulled some data from our system in the mass crash portal. In IMC, must be the crash portal, from January 2023 to today, over a year and a half, I found only 2 crashes in that area. They were both this year, this past August and September, about a week apart, so I see why they are concerned. The state data shows that the next nearest crashes were in 2014 at White Pond Road and a few in front of Gove Farm in 2006. The speed limit in that area is already posted at 35 miles an hour, and it is consistently listed in our directed patrol suggestions. Last October 2023, we had the traffic trailers on Mechanic Street near the intersection of Johnny Appleseed Lane. The results are attached. Over about 20 days, it collected data for over 65,000 vehicles, with about 1,500 of them considered excessively speeding. The average speed was between 34 and 30 miles per hour, depending on direction. In my opinion, I don't believe the traffic speed and crash data supports lowering the speed limit. I would not recommend this proposal at this time. I would suggest a traffic engineer conduct a more comprehensive look at this entire section of Mechanic Street from St. Cecilia Street to the Lancaster line to suggest improvements that would address multiple complaints. The intersections of Mechanic Street and Florence Street, Johnny Appleseed Lane, and White Pond Road, along with Gove Farm, have all had complaints about speeding at some point and would benefit from a more complete traffic calming plan. Second referral is from the DPW and dated September 25th as well to the city clerk. Dear Elizabeth, the Leominster Department of Public Works has reviewed the petition to establish a 25 or 30 mile per hour speed zone on Mechanic Street and offers the following comments. The DPW defers to the Leominster Traffic Department. Please let us know if you have any questions. Sincerely, Raymond Racine, DPW Director. So these are the referrals that we have in hand, and we are happy to hear from folks that are concerned about this. Happy to have public comment as well as comments from the City Council. We do start our regular City Council meeting at 7 o'clock, so we might wait a minute, start our meeting, and then we will come back into the public hearing.
Okay, Apple has informed me it is 7 o'clock, so we're going to start the meeting with a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll now take the roll of the councilors in attendance, starting with Councilor David Cormier.
Present.
Councilor Pauline Cormier.
Present.
Councilor Arndinger.
Present.
Councilor Angelini.
Present.
Councilor Tossi.
Present.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr.
Present.
Councilor Robbins.
Present.
Councilor Frida.
Present.
I shall be recorded as present. We have 9 council members in attendance this evening. And I'll now check with the Vice President and Councilor in charge of records. Do you have anything to report?
Thank you, Mr. President. I have, aside from a couple of typos that I think we can take care of administratively, the minutes from the September 9th, 2024 meeting otherwise stand in good order, and I'd ask that they be placed on file. And, Mr. President, I'm going to ask for further time on the September 23rd, 2024 minutes.
Okay, unless there's any objection from anyone, that can be done. I'll now entertain a motion to recess. Councilor Shalfo Zephyr, you have a second. Councilor Arndinger, please recognize the usual manner. We are in recess, and Councilor Shalfo Zephyr, you have the floor.
Okay. So before we go to the public, I'd like to go to my committee. Councilor Frida?
Thank you, Madam Chair. After we got this referral from Sergeant Robichaud, I called Chief Mulatus. We had a nice conversation. I think the key is that they all know that there's an issue there. They've had complaints over the years, and they've been ongoing for a long time. I'm just going to read what he did expand on his original letter. He says, per your request, I'll expand on my suggestion regarding having a traffic study done in the section of Mechanic Street. And the suggestion was from Chief Mulatus. I'm no traffic engineer, but I have had over 22 years of experience with traffic issues in the city of Leominster. More recently, as a traffic supervisor, I've received various complaints from residents on Mechanic Street, Johnny Appleseed Lane, Florence Street, and other nearby areas. They include speeding, sightline issues, missing signage, and other devices and general bad driving behavior. With our current legal and financial restrictions, there's not a lot we can do as police officers other than try to be in the area when possible. Long-term solutions will require investment and work from multiple agencies. I feel that approaching these problems in a piecemeal manner would be doing both the residents and drivers a disservice. For example, speeding issues do make exiting Johnny Appleseed Lane onto Mechanic Street dangerous. But there is also a limited sight line due to the curve of the road and vegetation overgrowth that blocks the view of oncoming traffic. Addressing one problem without the other would give only temporary results. Additionally, Mechanic Street is posted under Chapter 90, Section 18. That means that the speed limit is set by conducting a speed study and determining the average speed of the road. It is currently posted at 35 miles per hour. Any change would require Mass DOT to conduct the study and adjust as needed. Our data collected last year is not an official speed study, but it shows that the average speed in the area of Mechanic Street and Johnny Appleseed Lane is still around 35 miles per hour. If the official data is similar, the speed limit would remain the same. I would recommend that the city engage the services of a traffic engineer with experience in traffic calming measures. There are several ways to incorporate various traffic calming methods into existing roadways that would both consciously and subconsciously cause drivers to slow down. The MUTCD, Federal Traffic Marking Guidelines, has these listed, and these are guidelines put out by Mass DOT for compliant designs for a variety of roadways. This recommendation would take time and money, but it would result in a solid plan to address the multiple issues on Upper Mechanic Street. Also, I kind of, longevity is a good thing, I guess, trying to throw papers away. I came across this planning charrette. Mr. Souza would remember this because we all went through this in 2003, and it was done by Mullen Associates. And it's a lengthy study on how people felt about the city, whether the growth, the traffic, the strengths, the weaknesses, the school system. There were a lot of things, and it also piggybacked on charrette. It's called the charrette, the planning program, and it was done by Mullen Associates, as I said. And there was one that was done in 1997 first, and this one was done 6 years later. We haven't had one since, but in every single area, the strengths and the weaknesses, the top strength or the top weakness is the traffic, the speeding, the lack of oversight. Transportation is a weakness. Traffic management is poor. Every single section of this report by the planning department, and I again, I would refer to Mr. Souza because he would remember the same thing. That was a major issue. So in 1997, 2003, and now we're in 2023 with a lot more homes, a lot more traffic, a lot more issues. I would hope, and I know the police department over the years has hoped to have a full traffic department as opposed to a traffic police officer. And I think that's mentioned in here too. I would hope that the mayor, and I know that there is some help and some grants and some possibilities of getting some of the signage for a start, but even though the study was done, the speeding was done, and I've talked with Lisa Gove many times. I'm there probably 5 days a week. So, we've had many conversations about the traffic, and I've watched it. I've watched my own speed going up, and I don't go 35 miles an hour. I mean, there's a tendency to go 40, 45 miles an hour, and then you get to the top, and if somebody's turning in, you're stopping quickly. So I think there are a lot of issues on that road, and it's evidenced by the police saying that they've had calls for many years, a lot of complaints in that whole area. So I would hope that the police department, in conjunction with the DPW, on at least starting to get that growth out of there, and there may be a conversation with the mayor to see if he would fund some of these suggestions by the police department would be a good beginning. And get an official traffic study by DOT as opposed to the police department just doing theirs, and not that I'm saying it's any less, but it's not the official guidelines on the federal level to do that. So I know we're going to hear a lot more from some of the residents. They've got some concerns. I've heard them often, and they have an absolute legitimate complaint in that whole area. And I think one of the things Chief Mulata said to me, which I thought was really an appropriate comment, is that Goves have a front row seat. You can be a police officer parking on the side of the road, you can be down the bottom, you can be at the top, but they have the front row seat. They see what's happening, they see that doesn't even account for a lot of the near misses that have happened up there. There's been some accidents, but not the misses. So, I'm sure we'll be hearing a lot more than I'm aware of when some of the public speaks. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Councilor Angelini?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think we're fortunate, number one, to have such a informed and professional traffic division. Sergeant Robichaud, every time I work with him, he seems to have, learn a little bit more about traffic. Some of these things we take for granted. We think we can just put up a sign or a stop sign somewhere, and oftentimes we're limited by the DOT. But I would agree with the conclusion that Officer Robichaud reached. I prefer a comprehensive approach to this issue because the first time I read this petition, I thought of Ward 2 councilor who came down here with a lengthy petition looking for a crosswalk down at Johnny Appleseed Lane. So, I mean, all those issues are tied in. I think I was also, to be quite honest with you, a little bit shocked at the count with 65,000 vehicles and 1,500 of them were considered excessively speeding. That's less than 2%. I mean, still not a good number, but I would have anticipated it to be higher than 2%, to be quite honest with you. And as far as the data that the at-large counselor referenced from the planning charrette, I think that's valuable information, and I think that any community that experienced growth like we did back in the 80s and 90s their residents would be answering in a similar fashion. I think traffic's a universal problem in cities our size, and it's something that people will be trying to figure out long after we're gone from the city council, but it's an ongoing battle. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
You're welcome. Any other folks on the council? Councilor Cormier.
Thank you, and thank you, Councilor Angelini. I filed a petition. The people on Johnny Appleseed Lane are telling me stories of parents actually in the morning pulling their cars out and blocking the road so the kids can cross the street to get to the bus stops and to get to Johnny, and another set of parents doing it in the afternoon. This whole area in front of the Gove Farm, down at the bottom of the junction of Merriam Ave, we've begged, I talked to the traffic officer then, they did put the traffic trailer out there, and I saw the data from that. And I don't know what the long-term solution is, but it seems to me that anything that the city can do now, a crosswalk, a flashing light, something, and I'm not gonna remember which town I went through, but it was a solar-powered, your speed is, just a small one. But it was enough for me to see it, and then when you got back under, it said thank you. It was simple, but it made me pay attention to what I was doing. And I'm like, even if I know it's gonna be a long-term process, it's gonna be, hopefully we can get the DOT involved and do a study on it. But if there's anything that the city can do now, little steps it can take, just to put that reminder in people's minds coming up and down that street. And I think one of the most disappointing things that I saw, because I spent a lot of time out there as well and at the Johnny Rowe Park and watching the exchanges, is it's our own people. It's not people from out of town, it's us. We're driving too fast, we're not paying attention. So, you know, between some signage up there, and we all know enforcement is the key, and getting the officers on certain times, certain parts of the day, to be able to go out there and just park, that's gonna help to slow people down. So while we're waiting for a long-term solution or proposals, if there's anything that we can do in the interim to get some at least short-term reprieve for all the people that live in this area, work in this area, have businesses in this area. As I said, the kids getting on and off the school bus. No parent should have to pull their minivan into the middle of Mechanic Street to ensure that the kids can cross the street. So that's my 2 cents, and I will support this and any other actions we can take to address this. Thank you.
Councilor Frida.
Yeah, I just want to add, I think we know what the issues are. They've been clearly laid out by Sergeant Robichaud. The chief is in agreement. It's been going on for a long time. This isn't going to get anywhere unless we get behind, the mayor gets behind it. The police have already said what they can do, but they need the money to do it. So the mayor's, the approach to the mayor would be the next step. He sits on the board of DOT. I mean, he can speed things up a little bit and get official speed studies done, get a traffic engineer, and while I totally agree that Sergeant Robichaud is excellent, he's one person, and I think that's what the police have wanted for years, is to have a traffic department. And I think that's what some of the planning charrette issues were brought up, that there needs to be, for a city our size, there needs to be a department that can come up with recommendations. Sergeant Robichaud can only do so much as one officer. So I think the request to the mayor we can put together and have in conjunction with the chief and Sergeant Robichaud and move in that direction and get something done. I mean, I don't know if the mayor was contacted after the last petition, but I mean, I think we can do it now.
Mechanic Street from downtown all the way to the Lancaster line is a problem, numerous problems. And we had a big one closer to town in front of two storefronts, a commercial enterprise and a nonprofit organization. And we had a petition that, I don't know how many people signed it, but there were lots and lots of pages that were filled. And the mayor did step up, and the DPW, and worked with those local business owners to put in a flashing light as well as a crosswalk there. Because lots of people go in and out of those businesses, and it was a public safety hazard. So I'm optimistic that we can make the case to bring to the mayor and convince the police department that this is a very important thing. I'm up and down Mechanic Street all the time, and if I'm not going to buy flowers or vegetables, I'm picking up my grandson, down the hill at the daycare center. And getting in and out of that driveway is frightening. Frightening. Every time I try to pull out onto Mechanic Street, I hold my breath. It's really dangerous. So I think, the city of Leominster, traffic is a problem. There's traffic, right? People waiting in line, people being annoyed they can't park, people can't get anywhere they need to go. But then there are things like speeding that really are public safety and threatening hazards. So I understand the need for a comprehensive look at this. And I don't know what the short-term fix is. I think we need something in the short term. I don't want to wait for a comprehensive traffic study, although I think that's very valuable and it needs to be done. But I think in the meantime, if we can put a flashing light, if we can temporarily reduce the speed, if we can have, police sitting out there, somewhere on that hill, we need to do that. So, I will definitely have additional conversations with this. I will reach out to the mayor and have a conversation with this. Reach out to the DPW to see, if they have any new ideas about having, how we can slow down that traffic, because it's a big, serious problem. So at this point, if there aren't any more comments from the council, I would go to the public. Is there anybody in the public who would like to speak about petition 1125? Either in favor or opposed to 1125? Please come up to the microphone, sir, and state your name and address.
My name is Paul Gove, and my address is 925 Mechanic Street in Leominster. The owner of Gove Farm, and we see it all the time. Just like they said, we have a front row seat. Traffic. If people would just obey the traffic laws and pay attention, everything would be fine. But I think the speeding studies, when people realize that there's police or a camera there, or not a camera, but a radar, and that, it obviously slows people down. I think a radar sign would be wonderful. The city was nice enough to put up a slow tractor sign. In the 90s, and it lasted a little over 2 weeks before it was stolen. And we never got another one. I would be happy to fund putting another one up, putting two up, especially with a flashing light. My wife has seen tremendous numbers of near misses, including she was trying to stop traffic so we could cross with a tractor, and people just went right around her and crossing the yellow line. I think that's another point that could be made, is a what would you call it, no passing zone. It's a double yellow line there, and most years the city paints it really well in June, but this year they missed it, and now it's kind of a single yellow line in a lot of places. And I think if you had that coming all the way from the Lancaster border, going east, going west, people might think a little bit. But there are some people that just aren't paying attention, and they're texting and doing everything else. And that hill, you lose your vision for line of sight, and for us that it's danger for all of our customers, and for us as workers on the farm and employees. I have several times a day I'll have to drive a tractor, and it's only 25 seconds to get from White Pond Road to the farm stand driveway. And I look down to the east, and I have a tree that if there's a car between that tree and White Pond Road, I won't pull out. But many times, the cars will be way before the tree, and they'll be right on my bumper by the time I'm less than halfway up to the stand. So it's obviously a lot of speeding. And yes, I know you have to do traffic studies, but a temporary, faster solution would definitely be appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
John Sills, Chairman of the Planning Board. There's two things, as far as, I want to thank the Goves for not developing that property, because we probably would have had 500 more houses up there. But what I was trying to think of what we can do, and I'm not totally sure of the law, but I think that we could designate that area as a business district. And in doing so, we would be able, in that area anyway, put a slower speed. Where today it's considered a through street, and that's 35 miles an hour. But a business district would be 20 or 25, I'm not sure. Just an idea, I'm not sure, but maybe it's something worth looking at and designating that area as a business district.
Thanks, John.
Okay?
Yep. Okay.
Melissa Bible, 178 Fifth Street, and I hadn't planned on speaking on this agenda item, but as a long-term off Mechanic Street resident, a couple things that over the years, all of us that live off Mechanic Street have mentioned the increased traffic and speeds that go from the Route 2 exit into downtown. One of the things that wasn't mentioned in the police report is, while it was mentioned accidents, it wasn't mentioned that someone was hit and killed on Mechanic Street, right at the Johnny Appleseed walkway. So I think that's something else. And not to mention not to blame any particular business, but it seems like as Cumberland Farms was put, those of us who kind of knew the quiet old Mechanic Street exit that you could travel up to quietly, now everyone knows that entrance and exit, and the volume, I think, has probably increased. There's no lighting on that road, or there is extreme lighting. There's no good mix. Either you have bright sun in the morning, or you have no lighting at night until you get down to the park, and then it's actually almost blinding the light. So I think there does need to be a combination of things between a walkway, better lighting, and then, a quick little message, slow down. I think, as Ms. Cormier said, people, who travel it all the time aren't necessarily aware as their speed is increasing as they're going uphill, and then all of a sudden you have to come to a stop for the farm stand. So maybe even just a signage ahead of time saying, stop ahead or slow down ahead, so that those of us that are, or the newcomers that are exiting Cumberland Farms and are going up toward the exit quickly and don't necessarily know the area, have warning that there's going to be stopping up ahead.
Is there anybody else in the audience who would like to speak either for or against petition 1125?
Good afternoon, council members. Chris Maceda of 955 Mechanic Street. For me, this going off what everyone's saying and so forth, my personal issues is the cross over the hill. Turning, a lot of times I have to hit my directional signal well before, but even if I do as I cross over the hill, cars are on my rear end and a lot of times slamming on their brakes as I'm turning into my driveway. A lot of times I do the same thing the Goves do. I'll use my vehicle as a blocker to let their slow-moving vehicles pass through, so forth, so everyone can be safe. I was, actually, the other thing I'm gonna say is, if the council does go forth reviewing the entire Mechanic Street, because if you can see, starting from the Lancaster line, going down, it's 35, and I think the thing around St. Cecilia's down to 30, then it's 20 right at 3rd Ave. And then we go westbound coming up, it's 30 from Cumberland Farms all the way up, and then increase up to 35 at St. Cecilia's, and then all the way through. I don't know if the report listed, I was actually had an accident in May, right around 2nd Ave. And significant damage. Car was actually backing out of their driveway, crashed right in my back end. My wife was with me. And I think what saved me was because we just crossed over that threshold of 20 miles per hour thing. So going 35, 20. So speed can, every 5 miles does have makes a difference. And I get people, there's only 8 houses from that 3/4 mile track from Johnny Appleseed up through the Lancaster line. So I know for a lot of people, 35 makes sense. But the fact that you have a business, you have, once you go over that crest, less than 1/10 of a mile, you have multiple driveways from the business, from 3 houses, the Goves, there's another house, and then my house. So anything you guys can do, signage, speed, there's a lot of things done, and we've been there since 2016. As the years have noticed, more aggressiveness, people aren't being patient as they want, people aren't following, people crossing those double yellows to get around me as I'm trying to turn into my driveway. So there's a lot of factors, but for me, I support the measure, and whatever the council feels fit, I'll agree with it, and it's something we revisit. I'm more than willing myself to work with the police department or with the city council to come with proposals, not just for my little neck of the woods, but throughout the city. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yep.
Lisa Gove, 925 Mechanic Street. I've lived in Leominster for 31 years, and I have spent a good portion of that time either waiting for the school bus or standing with my back to the farm stand looking out onto Mechanic Street. And every time a tractor pulls out, I pray that somebody doesn't crest that hill and kill somebody related to me or a child that works for me. Oftentimes, no one knows that the tractor's pulling something when they're trying to cross the road. I got passed on the left while trying to take a left into the stand parking lot because the person couldn't stop fast enough. We have already changed what we could change. We only let the people who work for us cross at the very top of the hill at my driveway or in front of White Pond Road where they can drive on the stand side of the street the whole way down and then cross over. I can't do more than that. We try to make sure only people who actually don't stall when they shift into second drive things, but nothing's perfect and no one's perfect, and sometimes things break as you're going. And when you crest that hill, and it's the eastbound traffic that's the worst. I don't know where they put the radar before, but the eastbound traffic is the fastest. When they come up over the crest of that hill, it's horrible. And I've had to comfort customers who are in the parking lot because they got hit. I was there for both the accidents in August and September. The woman who got hit was a wreck. I just don't want to see somebody get killed. And I was probably the impetus to this because I, every year, call the police department, who then sends me to the DPW, who then sends its money and sends me back to the police department. And I did rant at poor Pauline and Claire, and I just feel like I don't want something horrible to happen to make us finally do something. And a sign, I slow down when I see those signs that say I'm going too fast. I'm intimidated by that. So if there are enough people like me who know I shouldn't be going that fast but will slow down, maybe that will decrease it by enough that we won't see anything horrible happen.
Thank you.
John Gove, also 925 Mechanic Street. To not repeat what everyone said already, I have another relationship with traffic where I'm a runner. So running either direction out of our driveway, you get to see it's more of a societal thing, but people are always looking down. And you know, when cell phones and texting just kind of entered the realm of a concern, people would at least try to hide it. You know, we'd hold it below our steering wheel so you can't see it through the window, and now it's just blatant, two hands above the wheel with a phone. As a runner, you can get off the road quickly, run on the shoulder, get out of the way. As a tractor, it's a lot harder to move quickly out of the way, and less concern about the people driving the tractors. If you're going to hit a tractor with a car, be it a small car, it's dangerous for the driver too. So, you know, supporting some flashing, some attention-grabbing device to at least, you know, get people's eyes off this screen in front of their face and on the road in front of them, I think would be a good measure to take. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I guess for a third and final time, is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak in favor or against 1125?
How you doing? My name's John Harvey. I live at 960 Mechanic Street, and I own 980 Mechanic Street. I'd like to thank the Goves because they have horsepower. Horsepower has created you people to listen to this conversation. I agree with Vice President Cormier and her 2 cents. You don't have to write tickets, just be present, right? And I agree with Mr. Angelini. The speed is surprising that it was 2%, because if you come to the top of the hill, it'll be 70%. I raised 4 kids on top of that hill. They're all really good drivers because they had to get out fast because there was no choice, right? So it's a bonus. Let's go to Bolton. Try speeding through Bolton. Give it a try. Right. No one's going to do it. No one here is going to do it, right? It's not going to happen. The soccer fields are a big problem. They're not a big problem for what it represents, but they're a big problem for people from Jersey, New York, Boston, the South Shore, name it, right? They come, they turn around, they stop us, they stop Paul, and they ask us which way to go. The turnaround is the problem. That's what's causing the accident. It's not represented in those numbers. 2 accidents, it's not real, right? Plenty of accidents, right? Had the cops at my house last week. Someone coming out of White Pond Road, the glass was all over the road. You guys drive it, you see glass on a road, someone hit a car, cut and dried, right? Maybe not reported, but it happened. Right, I won't hold you up. And then the only other thing that I think is your duty as a city is the fastest thing facing extinction in the state of Massachusetts is the farmer. You need to protect them. If this becomes houses or big box stores, you guys will stop the speed. If this was a Walmart, if this was a BJ's, you guys would stop the speed, and so would the city. He's a farmer. Stop it. Just slow it down. That's all we're asking. Simple. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Erica Macedo. I live at 955 Mechanic Street, and I am also speaking in support of this measure. I appreciate the thoughtful dialogue and consideration that has been brought by the board as well as the constituents who have spoken today. I'm in strong favor of exploring the option of the business remodeling to address the concerns. As my husband already spoke to, we moved into our house in 2016. A big driving part of that was the farm. We actually went and we interviewed the employees as we were looking at the house, trying to get a feel for the community. And we are so grateful for where we live and that we are able to be so closely connected. I will say though, especially this summer, we have noticed a very large increase in the amount of horns that we hear, to the point that at times we can't have our windows open because it's so frequent, the noise of as people are cresting the hill, people are trying to turn, people are not paying attention. It is extremely dangerous. Sitting waiting to leave our house. We will not back onto the street. We will only pull out straight forward as safety concerns. So again, we've taken the measures that we can to try to mitigate this problem, and we're very interested in the creative solutions that you can come up with to address this very dangerous issue. A section of this that I think needs to be considered as well is the fact that we do not have sidewalks on the sides of the street. So people who are running, people who are taking public transportation, White Pond now has frequent stops for the MART bus. Things of that nature aren't really in consideration in part of these reports, but I think it is pivotal to consider the people who are actually affected and living on these streets, supporting local businesses, supporting children who are trying to safely go on the bus, I think should be a pivotal concern. And while I can appreciate that traffic is a concern throughout all cities, throughout the country, throughout probably the world, we're looking at real issues and real people here, and I really appreciate the creative solutions that you would be able to come to. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Elizabeth Foley, and I live on Avon Street. I'm here not only representing that I've lived in Leominster for 24 years, but I've also been a patron of Go Farm for that amount of time, and I got the pleasure of working there. And seeing and being scared to pull out of the parking lot is no joke. We've seen so many accidents, and I understand it's everywhere, and I know that you have resources are very thin, but I just wanted to come here and support. I'm not a public speaker, never done this before. This is really all I want to say. Everyone has said way better things than I could, and I just want to repeat it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Good.
Good evening. My name is Fiona Harvey. I live at 23 Jamestown Road. I've been a Leominster resident for 22 years. And shortly after I moved here, I started shopping at Go Farm, and then lo and behold, I now work at Go Farm. I've been there, I believe this is my 4th or 5th year. Both my girls have worked there over the years. Both my girls have driven vehicles on the farm, which is slightly terrifying. Now I drive vehicles on the farm. We are extremely careful every day who we assign to drive a vehicle, and which vehicle it is, and where they're going, and what they're doing. And that's because of what we see every single day. Every day I go out, every day anyone goes out, whether it be a customer or an employee, you are conscious of where the cars are and how fast they're coming. There are numerous people now that do take the MART bus. We see them throughout the day waiting for that bus to stop. Cars pass them. Cars pass the bus when it's stopped. They don't know if someone's crossing the street when that bus is stopped. As other people have said, they cross the double line, they honk their horn, they cross when you're turning left, they cross when you're turning right. They don't care. The police are out, I see them, I come and go sometimes, I don't work a full day, I'll leave at 1. The police officer might be down the street. It's useless at 1 o'clock. It does affect things, however, the time is 6:30 in the morning to 9:30, 10:30, 11:30, and at the end of the day or towards the end of the day, that middle of the day, there's no school buses. There's nothing like that. We're going in and out all day, yes, but there's a lot more in the morning. There's more traffic in the morning on Mechanic Street, and it's crazy. The sun is a factor both times of the day. Phones are terrible. It's constant, and that's just an issue everywhere right now, but any help we could get would be greatly appreciated. Flashing lights are wonderful. Someone drive through Bolton. Don't speed through Bolton. Sterling have a wonderful sign that they put up. It goes all over Sterling. I drive through there often. It's solar powered. It goes, you are going, boop, and it flashes. Makes you conscious, makes you think, makes you slow down. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. For the last time, is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak for or against petition 11-25? Okay. Okay, I think we've heard from, Council Frida.
Just to add, because I was thinking as people were talking, I was talking to someone once who was, and I went to Boston last Thursday, and I was driving, being in South Leominster, I go 190 to get on the Route 2. And this person I was talking to said they don't do it anymore. I couldn't even get from 190 onto Route 2 because the traffic was so bad. So some of these people are saying now they're going down Mechanic Street and they're going to the Lancaster exit, getting on Route 2 that way to bypass getting onto Route 2. So that's creating another whole situation of bypassing Route 2 because it's just bumper to bumper and you can't move in the morning. I think enough has been said tonight, and I think people have complained before. We've heard it before. I've heard, people say since Lisa and I were talking that, they feel frustrated because they can't get anything done after a year. I would suggest that we have a meeting of our committee, subcommittee meeting, sit with Sergeant Robichaud. I'm sure Chief Mulatus would sit with us. Maybe have some of the neighbors come up with a plan. Worcester has gotten to the point where they're doing a complete traffic study because they've had some serious accidents. We shouldn't have to wait till we get to that. That would be my suggestion as a committee person. Let's do that and see if we can come up with something, a plan that's agreeable to the people and the police, and bring it to the mayor and see if we can get something put through.
My recommendation at this point would be to keep the public hearing open. I don't want to close it. I think Councilor Frieda took the words out of my mouth. We will have a sit-down. No, that's okay. We will have a sit-down with Acting Chief Mulatus. We will talk to the DPW. Thank you very much, Mr. Souza, for the planning board recommendation. So I think it's all hands on deck to come down. I think it's very important to have a short-term way to address this while, we look at, Mechanic Street from, downtown to the Lancaster line. But we absolutely have to do something in the short term. There's no question about it. So we will sit down with the people who can help us come up with a plan, and we will keep this open. We'll get something done. I don't know what that is at the moment, but I know that we will come up with a solution. Okay? So we'll certainly vote on that, but the public, my recommendation is to keep the public hearing open.
Okay, very well. You all set, Councilor?
Yes.
All right, so the 6:50 hearing is really not a hearing because that 10:25, Mr. Chairman, was set for public hearing on November 12th.
That's correct.
At 6:50. I know that the petitioner's here. They can certainly speak in the public forum. Anybody interested in 10:25, along with the petitioner, can speak in the public forum, but we're not going to conduct an actual public hearing tonight on that. So that would bring us to the public forum. The public forum is an opportunity for any member of the audience to speak on a matter specifically listed on the council agenda. I've got it. Speakers will be asked to come to the microphone and state their formal name and address, along with identifying the specific item or items they wish to address. Each speaker is respectfully asked to keep their comments within a 2-minute time frame. The council will not be responding or answering any questions. However, at the discretion of the council president, clarification may be given. We do have some people that signed up. Some of them already spoke, but they're more than welcome to speak again. First person signed up for the public forum is Eileen Griffin.
Hi, Eileen Griffin, 135 Highland Ave, and I'm here to speak on behalf and support, requesting your support on the increase of the school committee's compensation or stipend. As folks know, that we are currently receiving $2,000 a year as a stipend. We have been fortunate to have that for the last 10 years. We have not had any raises since that point in time. I have served on the school committee for 30 years, so 20 of them I have not received any compensation and was very happy to serve and continue to serve with or without compensation. However, I do feel that it is very important. We have a lot of families who are struggling. It would be helpful for them to be able to be compensated so they can have childcare, etc. Might encourage people to come forward to participate. You know, we spend a great deal of our own money going to a variety of events. I think we were all laughing and joking that we probably all spent about $100 at the Johnny Appleseed Fair on school, you know, activities and raffles and all those kinds of things. You know, again, you know, we are hoping that, you know, we oversee the biggest budget in this community. Everybody who is serving takes it very seriously. The education of our students is important, and we spend a lot of time at a variety of subcommittee meetings as well as our regular meetings, talking to constituents, really ensuring that we are providing a quality education. So we take our job very seriously, and we're respectfully being asked for compensation to sort of match what many other districts in the state are getting. You know, the city council are also elected officials, as we are. Your compensation is, I believe, $12,500 plus health insurance. That is not something that we are asking for. So we're hoping that we can, you know, come to an agreement. So we appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Griffin. The next parties that are signed up are Paul and Lisa Gove. You all set? Okay, thank you. John Gove, all set. Thank you, Mr. Gove. And then Peter Campobasso.
Thank you, Council President Bedanza. Peter Campobasso, office at 3 Park Street, Leominster, Mass. I'm here tonight to speak regarding petition 1025 on behalf of the applicant, 5 SAC Self-Storage Corporation. We believe that the petition is in the spirit and the intent of the zoning ordinance. We look forward to working with the council. We look forward to presenting the merits of the application at the public hearing, and if in the meantime there's any questions or information that the council needs, please reach out to me and I'll be sure to provide it. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Campobasso. The last person signed up on the formal sheet is Josh Alexander. Okay, all set? Thank you, Mr. Alexander. That's the end of the sign-ups, but anybody who didn't sign up is welcome to speak on an agenda item.
Hello again. Melissa Bible, 178 Fifth Street. I'm also asking for your support in petition for the school committee increase in pay. I echo everything that Eileen has said. I did also want to mention that we have run it by the business manager, who felt that all of the petitions we have requested was sustainable, as is this 5,000. While I'm in agreement with everything Pauline said, I would also like to ask that when the petition does come in front of you for the next time, that we as petitioners are invited or asked to be here. That communication was lost in the last round of meetings, so I'd like to ask that we're informed of the next meeting. And this petition request actually started a year ago. I'd like there to be some discussion in general. If you agree, if you disagree, let there be a discussion and let it be a communication. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bible. I will tell you now that the new petition will be given regular course tonight, and it will be on the agenda for our next meeting, which is the 28th of October. So I can tell you that right now. Is there any other member of the public that wishes to address the City Council on a matter that's on our agenda? For a second time, is there any member of the audience that wishes to address the council on an agenda item? And a third and final time, is there any member of the public that wishes to address the City Council on an agenda item? If not, I'll declare the public forum closed. Moving on to communications from the mayor, starting with C11.
Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests that an appropriation of $3,500 be made to the forestry overtime account, the same amount to be transferred from the stabilization fund.
C11 is referred to the Chairman of Finance.
First time on the calendar, regular course.
Thank you. C11's been given regular course. C12.
Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests that the appropriation of $21,250 be made to the cemetery capital PY Building Rehab account, the same amount to be transferred from the Cemetery Perpetual Care account.
C12 is referred to the Chairman of Finance.
Regular course.
I think I'm going to note, there's a typo there that I think that's a majority of vote, not a two-thirds vote. So just for future reference. Councilor Shalfo Zephyr?
Is that fiscal year? I don't know what PY is. What's PY?
I believe it should be
Should be
fiscal
FY.
year.
Okay,
Yeah.
fiscal year.
That's
so
two
that's a
typos.
typo. Okay.
Thank you, Councilor. Moving on to C13.
Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests that an appropriation of $175,000 be made to the road surfacing account, the same amount to be transferred from stabilization fund.
C13 is referred to the Chairman of Finance.
This is also being given regular course.
And once again, I think there's a typo there. That is a two-thirds vote for future reference, Madam Clerk.
Got it.
Moving on to C14.
Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests an appropriation of $4,000 be made to the fiscal year 2025 parking enforcement overtime account, the same to be transferred from the fiscal year 2025 disability parking fee account.
C14 is referred to the Chairman of Finance.
Regular course.
Very well, C14 has been given regular course. We're on to page 4, appointments.
Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests confirmation of Jason Main to the position of Veterans Director for the City of Leominster for a term of 3 years, effective October 29th, 2024. I certify that person is qualified to perform the duties which would be required, and I make this designation solely in the interest of the City of Leominster.
C15 is referred to the Chairwoman of Ways and Means.
Thank you, Mr. President. Regular course, and can we invite Mr. Main to our next meeting so that we can get to know him and interview him a little bit?
Okay, I'm going to inquire, Council Shalfo Zephyr, the public safety matter, do you want that on the next agenda, 1028?
I do.
Okay, so let's, I'm going to suggest 6 o'clock to interview Mr. Main.
Certainly, so October 28th at 6 o'clock.
Very well. Moving on to C6.
Mr. President?
Frida, yes?
I don't believe that's a two-thirds vote either.
Yeah, you're right, it's not a two-thirds vote, so that's a majority vote. Thank you for pointing that out, Councilor. Moving on to C16.
Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests that the attached list of the election workers for the November 5th, 2024 state election be appointed.
And that's referred to the Chairwoman of Ways and Means.
Thank you, Mr. President. Regular course?
Very well, C16 has been given regular course. Moving on to petitions, first time on the agenda.
The school committee respectfully requests with a vote of 9-0 that the Leominster City Council consider increasing their yearly compensation to align with the other school committees in Massachusetts. The committee currently receives a yearly stipend of $2,000 and will request that the amount be increased to $5,000 to take effect after the election cycle to follow the consumer index for future increases. The compensation will be paid out of the school department budget.
1225 is referred to the Chairman of Legal Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. President. Regular course, establish a public hearing date.
Okay, so we'll put that on 10/28 at 6:10.
10/28 at 6:10 p.m. Okay.
And all those in favor of establishing a public hearing on 12/25, on 10/28, 6:10 p.m., please recognize usual manner. Anyone opposed? By a vote of 9-0, the public hearing is established. Moving on to 13-25.
I, Elizabeth Dorn, City Clerk, request that the City Council grant the attached election order for the November 5th, 2024 state election.
13-25 is referred to the Chairwoman of Ways and Means.
Thank you, Mr. President. Regular course?
Very well. 13-25 has been given regular course. 14-25.
Thomas F. Ardinger, Councilor at Large, on behalf of the petitioners below, requests a sidewalk on the easterly side of Howard Street between Lancaster Street and Florence Street.
14-25 is referred to the Chairman of City Property.
Regular course with a referral to the police department and the DPW.
Very well. 14
Public hearing, I'm sorry.
Okay, Councilor Frida?
Just out of curiosity, is this a city council jurisdiction? We can't pay for that, we can't fund it. We don't,
Well, we've done this before, which is not necessarily an answer to your question. I'm gonna give it regular course. I'm gonna allow it to give regular course. You want it to refer it where?
To the police and probably the mayor. would be more appropriate.
Okay.
And DPW.
And you want to schedule a public hearing?
Yes.
All right, so let's see. Can we do that on 11/12?
11/12 would be fine.
We'll do that at 11/12 at 6:40 PM. All those in favor of establishing a public hearing for 14-25 on November 12th at 6:40 PM, please recognize usual manner. Anyone opposed? A public hearing is established. Moving on to matters before the City Council is the Chairman of Finance Director's report.
Yes, Mr. President, we began the city's stabilization fund on July 1, 2024 with $22,927,553.81. We've earned $102,275.69 in interest. And pending all of the appropriations and the one on there that we already passed, if they all pass, we will have spent $183,050.45, and that'll leave us a balance of $22,846,779.05. The Capital Stabilization Fund has a balance of $2,193,191.62. That is also what we began the fiscal year with. And the Opioid Stabilization Fund, we began the fiscal year with $518,703.20. We got some proceeds from the state totaling $172,743.90, giving us a balance of $691,447.10. And that is the financial report.
Thank you, Council. Any questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to matters before Finance, C-10.
C-10, Dean J. Mazzarella Mayor requests an appropriation of $35,000 be made to the Veterans Department Head account, and the same amount to be transferred from the collective bargaining account. This is for cross-training of a new Veterans Director. As we all know, our Veterans Director, Rick Votor, is retiring, and they want sort of a warm handoff to to a new director. So we did get a letter from Jennifer Reddington, the city's comptroller, just explaining that that this is to allow for approximately 3 months of training for the new director. When the original appropriation was submitted, they did not have a final candidate selected. They estimated that the amount that would be needed by taking the top step of the S9 scale, which is $2,103.83 a week, and multiplying it by 13 weeks for a total of $27,349.75. And she goes on to explain that a retroactive payment will also be made in case there is any non-union scales are updated within the year. So that is basically what we are doing with this money. We are going to have that, trying to have that, overlap with the veterans directors, so that the new incoming director can understand how we like to do things in Leominster. And it would be my recommendation that we grant C-10, and I'll ask that you poll members of my committee.
Sure. Councilor Pauline Cormier?
I agree.
And Councilor Angelini?
Let me just say quickly that I had an opportunity to meet the director, the new director elect, and I know makes Councilor Rodger happy. He's a Navy veteran.
Very good.
But I'm certainly in favor of this. I think it will help move the transition forward to have the current agents stay on and do the training. So I'll be supportive of this.
Okay, you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to grant C-10. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting C-10, please recognize the usual manner. Anyone opposed? Does the chairman have an order?
Yes, Mr. President, ordered that the sum of $35,000 be made to the Veterans Department Head account, same to be transferred from the collective bargaining account. Move for the adoption of the order.
You've heard the request for adoption of the order. Is there anything further? Seeing nothing, all those in favor of adopting the order, please indicate by saying yea.
Yea.
Anybody opposed? The order is adopted by a vote of 9-0. Moving on to legal affairs and 5-25.
Thank you, Mr. President. 5-25, Elizabeth Wood, on behalf of the Planning Board, requests that the City Council amend the zoning ordinance pertaining to dimensional requirements for Residence B and Residence C districts. As you know, Mr. President, the Planning Board submitted a letter. They'll be taking this matter up on the 21st. Yes, sir. So it would be my position to ask for further time on this.
And we're going to continue the public hearing. Something tells me this is going to be a short one.
So
So I
we're
think
looking
this
at
is going
October
away.
28th, I believe, at 6:30.
Why don't we move it, yeah, we can leave it there. That's what I suggested earlier. All right, so the recommendation from, first let me check with you committee members. The recommendation is further time and continued public hearing to 10/28 at 6:30, right?
Correct.
And I'll check with Councilor Tossi
I agree.
and Councilor Pauline Cormier.
I agree.
You heard the unanimous recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to continue the public hearing on 5-25 to 10/28 at 6:30 and to give the petition further time. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please recognize usual manner. Okay, that's been established. Moving on to 7-25.
7-25, Elizabeth Wood, on behalf of the Planning Board, requests to amend the zoning ordinance pertaining to upper-story dwelling units. Once again, we conducted a public hearing early this evening. Mr. Joseph Boyle was here representing the Montezuma Regional Planning Commission. We had the planning director and the planning board chairman here as well, as you're well aware, Mr. President. This is something that I think will be beneficial to the community. I'm happy to see that above 4 to 8 units will require a special permit. And I think this is something that, again, would be beneficial in the districts as noted. And I would be supportive of it, and I would ask you to poll members of my committee.
Councilor Tossi?
I agree.
Councilor Pauline Cormier?
I am going to agree. I think there's enough safety features built into this that I feel good about endorsing this as well.
Okay. So you heard the unanimous recommendation to grant 7-25. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting 7-25, please recognize usual manner. 7-25 has been granted by a vote of 9-0. Moving on to public safety, Councilor Shalfo Zephyr, are you ready to report?
See, I am. We had a public hearing earlier this evening, and we heard from lots of the neighbors. We do have referrals back from the Leominster Police Department and the DPW as well. And after listening, I mean, I know the area well. Lots of people on the council know the area well, listening to all of the neighbors. My recommendation at this point would be to give this further time and to keep the public hearing open, so we will have another public hearing at our next meeting. And in the meantime, we'll schedule a public safety subcommittee meeting and hopefully have a conversation with the police chief, the traffic person, as well as the DPW. Pardon me?
I was just going to have a reminder to forward that email when you have your subcommittee meeting.
Absolutely. Oh, of course, no, absolutely, we'll do that.
Thank
Make
you.
sure that everybody gets that, no question about it, certainly, thank you. So at this point, my recommendation is for further time, and I would ask that you pull my committee, please.
All right, so the recommendation, further time and continued public hearing 10/28 at 6:20 PM?
Correct.
That's okay?
That should be.
Okay, and I'll poll your committee, Councilor Angelini?
I agree with the chair.
Okay, and Councilor Frida?
I agree.
You've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Public Safety Committee to give 11-25 further time and to continue the public hearing till October 28th at 6:20 PM. Any discussion? If seeing none, all those in favor, please recognize usual manner. That's established. Moving on to Legal Affairs, 10-25.
Thank you, Mr. President. 10-25 is Peter A. Campobasso Esquire on behalf of 5 SAC Self-Storage Corporation. Request to amend section 22-17, underlying districts, table of uses of the Leominster zoning ordinance, under the business uses, table of uses in the in the multi-use 1, MU1, underlying zoning district, and change the self-storage facility use from N, no, not allowed, to either Y, allowed by right, or SPPB, planning board special permit required. According to the Leominster zoning ordinance, self-storage in I think that should say is, but self-storage in categorized as a business use, but is only allowed in the industrial zone. The industrial zoning district. Mr. President, we have a public hearing for 10-25 scheduled for November 12th, 2024 at 6:50 p.m. So it would be my position to give this further time, and I'd ask you to check with members of my committee.
Councilor Tossi
I agree.
and Councilor Pauline Cormier.
I agree.
You've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to grant 10-25 further time. Is there any discussion? Councilor Frida?
Yes, to the chair, did we get information from the applicant, the petitioner, on exactly what the plan is?
Well, all I have, Counselor, is what was in the packet that we all got, so we all should have the same information. I wasn't giving anything special by the petitioner, but is there something in particular that you're lacking?
Yeah, what the plan is there.
All right. Well, I'm sure, I see him taking notes, so I'm sure.
I think the public should know that, so it'd be helpful if we have it for the
As I heard.
public hearing.
Yeah, I heard Attorney Campobasso earlier this evening, that if we needed anything, just to reach out. So I see him taking notes over there, so I suspect he'll.
Well, I think we asked at the last meeting. Was he notified? I asked at the last meeting.
I don't recall hearing that.
Well,
So
We don't have it, so I'm sure that we'll be supplied material before 11/12, and the clerk will, of course, distribute it to all the councilors. All right, so we need to vote on further time, so unless there's anything else, all those in favor of further time, please recognize the usual manner. 10-25 has been given further time. Moving on to city property, and 9-25. Is the chairman ready to report?
Thank you, Mr. President. 9-25, Richard M. Marchand requests the use of the following city properties to host the 36th Annual Johnny Appleseed Arts and Cultural Festival. It is on September 20th with a rain date of Saturday, September 27th. The festival shall take place with a setup beginning at 5 o'clock in the morning with a completion by 7 o'clock in the evening. The following city streets and properties: West Street from St. Mark's Church to Main Street, Park Street in its entirety, the City Hall parking lot and city parking lot adjacent to City Hall, a Main Street from the intersection of Mechanic Street to Merriam Avenue, the city portion of the parking lot between the First Baptist Church and the First Church Unitarian. All street front businesses, including the houses of worship, shall be notified of the said closing, as well as being invited to participate. This was given regular course on 9/23, and we had asked for referrals from the police, the fire, the DPW, and the mayor. We got referrals back from the fire department saying that they were in favor of it, and the DPW said that they agreed also. So we have 2 of the 4 referrals. And my humble opinion, this has been going on for 32 years, and I think we can go forward on this, and my recommendation is we grant 9-25.
We'll see if Councilor Robbins agrees.
I agree.
And Councilor Tossi
I agree.
makes it unanimous. You've heard the recommendation from city property to grant 9-25. Is there any further discussion? Councilor Frida?
Not a discussion, but it's another point on this planning charrette. One of the goals of individual importance was encourage Johnny Appleseed Fair to celebrate history. So, and you know, this is pretty interesting because a lot of the things have been done that were suggested.
Yeah.
So,
Councilor, you probably voted on 31 of the 32 of these?
pretty much. 1997 too.
Okay. All right, anything else? Okay, all those in favor of granting 9-25, please recognize in the usual manner. By a vote of 9-0, 9-25 is granted for the 32nd time. Moving on to Ways and Means, C-9, is the chairwoman ready to report?
Thank you, Mr. President. C-9, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests that Melissa Tasca be exempt from the provisions of Mass General Laws, Chapter 268A, Section 20B, Conflict of Interest. Melissa is currently employed by the City of Leominster Planning Department and will be taking a position with the City Clerk's Office as an election worker. These come up every so often that we're asked to waive this and allow someone to take on a different role within the city. And as we have elections coming up, we know that we will need the extra hands, so it would be my position to grant this exemption.
Okay, I'll check with members of your committee. Councilor Oranger
I agree.
and Councilor David Cormier.
I also agree.
You've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Ways and Means Committee to grant C-9. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting C-9, please recognize the usual manner. Anybody opposed? By a vote of 9-0, C-9 has been granted. Moving on to new business, old business. Anybody have anything? Councilor Frida?
Yeah, just old business. I guess I'm just curious as to why the cutoff was Wednesday. I understand we had a holiday, but that shouldn't change the 48-hour requirement.
Yeah, there's nothing that, actually what happened was I was in the office, it was done. So I approved it and we published it. So obviously it's okay to give more notice, can't give less than 48 hours.
But we didn't know that.
Yeah, well.
I didn't get it. I don't know if anybody else did, but I didn't know the cutoff was on Wednesday instead of Thursday.
Well, they had all the mayor's information early is what happened. So.
Well, I had my petition that I was trying to get in again, that I've been trying to get in for 3 months now, 4 months. And I had a recommendation also from Attorney Riley, who supported the petition. And my plan was to get it on, but when I talked to Maribel on Wednesday afternoon, she told me the cutoff had already happened.
It had been, yes, I approved it and it had been published. Yeah, that's true.
Well, what do we have to do to get a petition on? I mean, it's directly related to city council business. This is the fourth time I try this.
We're not going to discuss it tonight.
Well,
It's
no,
not proper.
at some point, we need to discuss it, because there's no way to do this.
You can see me, as you know.
I don't need to see, you never responded to me, you just let the deadline go, and it wasn't on the agenda.
That's not true. I did respond to you.
Okay. Then someone
So you can.
send me the
you can
emails, I'd
send
be
me-
happy to look at them, because I didn't get
sent
them.
you Brian Riley's communication. I sent that to you.
Yeah, you did
can
send it to
me
me,
the one,
and-
if you have one that's later, you can send that to me, and I will certainly consider it completely.
And I do think that having a conversation with Councilor Riley, interpreting what my petition was, and then sending me his opinion after you speak with him, that's not what he understood it to be when I talked with him. He has a whole different opinion that he emailed me, and he had no issue with the petition.
Well, you haven't forwarded, I did send you the email immediately that I received from Councilor Riley. You have not sent me the one that you received. If you'd like to do that, I'd be happy to consider it. Is there anything else on the
There's a
old
process
business?
that needs to happen to
Is-
get onto the city council
Is
agenda.
there anything else on the
And
old
as a
business?
city
and new
councilor,
business?
it's pretty discouraging that a petition can't get on the council.
Is there anything
agenda.
else on the old business or new business? Councilor Shalfo was up.
I just wanted to say that if there's any kind of change in the schedule, the city council should be notified by email, any kind of change to the routine way that we do our business. I think that that's fair, and I think everybody on the city council should be alerted to that by the city clerk. Oh, by the way, because of the Monday holiday, the agenda's going to be finalized at noontime on Wednesday. Instead of Thursday.
All the time I've been down here, I don't think we've ever got the mayor's material on Wednesday. That was unusual. So I approved it. It gave the public more notice. If the mayor's stuff comes in on Wednesday, the next time, we'll do it on Wednesday. We'll do it a day early.
Well, I would hope that you would alert the rest of the council. I mean, it's not, it doesn't seem like the correct way to do business.
I don't know what the council's out. okay? Get your stuff in early, that's all I'm gonna say.
Well,
Get
we
your
don't
stuff
know to
in
get it in
also
early if we
public.
don't know that the deadline has changed. The way that we conduct business and our rules are that noontime on Thursday
It's not
is
our
when
rule.
the
It's
agenda.
not in our rules.
It's not in our rules, okay, but the way that we have conducted business over the years is that the noon, we all know, as does everyone in the clerk's office, Thursday at noon is the cutoff for the agenda to be posted for Monday's meeting. If
That's-
that changes, I suggest it's only fair that everybody on the city council knows that.
Well, I'm gonna tell you right now, if the mayor's office gets us the stuff on Wednesdays in the future, that will be the day we're gonna post the agenda. So if you have something to get it in by Wednesday. It's as simple as that. Council Frida?
The cutoff isn't just for the mayor's office. The cutoff is also for the general public.
Yeah.
If the public has something to submit for a petition, and they know that they've done it in the past and it's noontime, is the cutoff date, that's not fair to the public. It's not just the mayor's information that cutoff.
There's nothing that prevents the agenda from being posted more than 48 hours. And if there's something of such urgency, okay, there can be a suspension of the rules. It can go on the agenda even if it comes in late. Comes in on Thursday, it can be a suspension of the rules. Comes in Friday, there can be a suspension of the rules. There's a cure for it. So I'm just telling you right now, I don't know if that's gonna be characteristic or that was a one-off because of the holiday. But if we get all the mayor's material on Wednesday, we will post the agenda on Wednesday. It gives the public more notice, more than the minimum 48 hours. I mean, there's been times when we've had to post an agenda at the 2 minutes before it was due because the stuff came in late. I prefer to be a little bit early than to be at the last possible moment. That's all. If you have something in the future, get it in by Wednesday.
Make a ruling and do it on Wednesday instead. But just do it, but don't, it can't be one month, one meeting and another meeting. We want to do it on Wednesday, do it on Wednesday.
I'm gonna do it when the mayor's material comes in,
Oh,
either
so
Wednesday or
we'll-
Thursday.
That is really unfair to the public, and I think it's certainly unfair to the city council. I just don't understand what is so harmful about communicating to the rest of the city council that, oh, by the way, the mayor's stuff isn't today, or we have a holiday next week, and we are going to finalize the agenda a day earlier. I don't understand why that simple extension of professional courtesy is such a problem.
Can you not get your material in by Wednesday?
If I don't know that Wednesday is the
What if you-
time,
what if you
if I
do-
don't know
what if
that
you do-
Wednesday, that the rule has changed.
Okay.
Because normally, Thursday is the way it's always been, right? So if I don't
What
know
we'll
that,
do
I
is
can't
this.
get anything in.
What we'll do is this. Madam Clerk, could you reach out to the mayor's office and find out if the Wednesday submittals was something out of the ordinary or something that was going to be more characteristic? Once you get the answer to that question, you let me know, and then we'll email the rest of the council whether we're going to stick with the Thursday noontime deadline or whether we're going to adopt a different deadline. How's that?
Fine, as long as you communicate that to all the department
I
heads
just
as well
said-
as the public.
I just said that, okay?
No, I didn't hear that.
We're going to communicate it to the council, okay? Because nothing's been communicated to anybody else. So we will communicate it to the council. Is there anything else? Okay.
Mr. President, on the old business real quick, just that
Yep.
the at-large counselor had asked for the plan, and I knew it was in the packet, so it's right here on that 1025 you had asked about.
Through the chair, the plan's there, but not what the plan for the change, what they want to do there, I don't think, is it?
Oh, well, I thought you went to the site plan.
Yeah, no, I knew we had the site plan. What the intention to build there is.
The self-storage?
Yeah, self-storage, just like, you know,
But that it could be one, yeah, there's a number of different things that could be done for the self-storage.
Well, they're suggesting the change to allow self-storage in other zones besides
Yeah, it's going to
industrial
affect
zone.
the entire city, that's the
Right.
point.
Right. Anything else? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Councilor Cormier, we have a second. All in favor? We're adjourned.
The Leominster City Council meeting is funded in part by DeCarolis Insurance Agency, at www.decarolisinsuranceagency.com, and by Avidia Bank, at www.avidiabank.com.